We are
We are
live.
live.
Nice. Okay.
We are live. We are live.
Right.
Yeah, we're live. We're
Yeah.
live. We are sending live. But
Happy
I hope
Friday.
my mic isn't too sensitive.
Well, if you sit still, we should be fine.
If you don't talk, it's okay. Uh,
Yeah. So we survived another week. I
it's
was
about
grateful to be at home for a full week. It's been so nice. I've just been on the road since the beginning of the year, so it was good to have a week at home to actually get caught up on some mundane stuff. Like expenses. I hate expenses. And we try to make them super simple, but I just don't like the process. I'd rather have a card where you just charge everything and then you give a justification and it's done. Anyway, enough about that. So, what were you boys up to this week? JGP, why don't we start with you?
I've been you know, I don't like the term of vibe coding. It looks like you're goofing around or something, but trying to do it, I would say, professionally, uh, and not to implement some things that as a as you're in school and it's homework or something, but having something that you want to show customers and build upon it is a little bit more challenging. And but it's a different way of dealing. Okay, when I've led teams and you've got user stories, you've got your Trello board or your Jira board, and you just go through the stories, you measure all these things, and there's with vibe coding, you can do a similar way, but there's a lot of regression issues. So, I wonder if sometimes it just doesn't sound like a bazillion agent on your code, and what one agent has been doing before it's reversed by another one. It would be it would be interesting to find out if there is a some the org chart of of all the boats there, and say okay, and say well this one needs to go on an improvement plan or something.
Can you imagine putting your agents on a pip? But it's going to come to that, right? Where you're going to have to have ones that you're keeping an eye on and that you're supervising a lot more than the others. So why don't you talk a little bit about what have you been vibe coding, and then I'd love to get into the regression side of things.
Well, I've been working on a data product workbench, so where we can actually manage completely the life cycle of data contracts and data product, and it's targeted toward more technical people. Okay, so not
Business
not
users.
yeah, not a data scientist that wakes up in the morning and say, "Yeah, what a data product," but more like having existing assets and turning them into data contracts and data products. Where I am at is you've got the full life cycle of the data contract, including the maturity model that I took a little bit and I published something on on the Substack, not live, last week. I've got the ability to publish automatically to GitHub, and from GitHub, it actually dispatches to our data catalog or on a Kafka topic that is going to be more towards operations. And yeah, and you can, when you design your data contract, your data product, you can assemble the different data contract in it. And I've been working with some of our not yet customers on some of the
Yeah.
features there as well. So trying to put some gamification in and things like that. I know that
How do you gamify data products?
it's you've got to play with it. You'll get Punimite as a reward.
You have like little Easter eggs hidden in the data products.
Yeah, yeah. You do things, and then you receive an email, and you get, hey, you got this grant of X amount of the currency. The platform is called Podemites because Podem is product oriented data engineering and management. So Podemite is a currency. Uh, yeah. So there's a little there's trying to. Um, I was working with one of a big retail company in Europe to actually see how we can actually try to do this data governance, this gamification in data governance. It's been on my radar for a long time. So
What
now,
did what might turn into prizes?
well, you can give prizes, or you can also connect to a badge API if you want, or something. Like, and you get to this digital badge or something.
Okay,
All that is feasible. Yeah. So.
that's hilarious.
And well, the whole idea is to have a platform on which we can experiment with customers. Okay, so that's it's not a product; it's a platform for experimenting. And but despite that, you want it to be solid, right? you
Right.
don't you don't want that. Oh, I'm adding a new feature, and wow, everything is dead again. So
Why don't
that
you tell us a little bit more about the regressions? Because you mentioned that earlier.
Yeah, yeah. So regression is not working well. I think there's um is- is- one of the issue is a bit of the size of the context. I've got I've got a bunch of services. I got a bunch of UI. I've got an iPhone app. I've got the context for all of that is growing, and each project doesn't always share well. It's almost like a good a good use case for a monorepo. Problem with monorepo is there's other repos, there are other issues there, but it's almost a good case for that because there's so much things that I kind of start to be sharing. So I said to all the project that the lead project is the services. Okay,
Right.
so everything is stored in the services, even if it's front end user stories, for example. And the front end also at some point decided, when I asked it, hey, implement this feature, and then it went to the server and implemented the API for its feature, and broke by the same time another feature because it did not have the context of the server in place. Okay,
Okay.
so now I told the front end, when you develop a feature and you need something from the server, write a user story. Uh, and then we review the user story, blah blah blah, all the traditional way of doing things.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of it's kind of interesting because it's, how do I redefine agile for boots? And so and Eli, no, I'm not using dot skills yet. There's plenty of things, and uh, a good friend of us also recommended me get shit done on that. But
GST, yeah,
yeah, that's what it said.
I know.
So we'll put a beep on post production. Uh,
We're live. No, I remember living in LA and I was at the beach one morning and this guy goes, "Oh shit, I just stepped in doo doo." It's like we have this weird thing with certain words in the US.
so
But GST is awesome. So you're using GST.
not yet, not yet.
You're not yet using GST.
Yeah, not yet. We've got some targeted audience next week
Mhm.
for those things. So I didn't want to introduce anything yet. So
Oh,
I'd
okay.
probably, or I'll add GSD on I don't know another subcomponent. But I want to be extremely careful with the code base now. So um, one thing I added is, um, so the more people are actually using it, the more user journey I find, and the more obviously bugs are identified. And basically, the system was vibe code. Okay, so I told Claude, okay, we are going to build this API system for tracking all the diagnostics that is going on. and it made recommendation on what it needed to fix it. So now, as the more you use it, the more journey I have, and the more issues I can find, and then I'm sharing all this thing with Claude, and Claude self deals based on this thing. So I've almost have I'm not telling him to cron or to be triggered on something like that. I still want to analyze myself what the issue was. But
Right.
basically, he takes the issues, create a report by session, and then made some recommendation. And I say, okay, we'll do it, or we won't do it, or we create a tech debt or something like that. And it manages all completely its tech debt, which by leading teams in my past, managing tech debt seems an easy thing, but it never works.
No.
So at least the boat is not having any ego about his tech debt. So.
Very interesting. So the event that you alluded to next week is the Gartner DNA conference in Orlando, and I will be speaking there on Monday. JJ and I have spoken together, I think, the past 3 events. So I always find it to be a good event from a networking perspective, and it's always interesting to spend time with the analysts. But we're going to be demoing, I believe, we're going to be demoing your vibe coded data product builder, right?
I think so.
I'll let you know. But one of the things that JJ and I are going to be talking about is some research that Actian recently commissioned from Bark, and we kind of wondered if there was a correlation between companies that have mature data management practices and that have adopted data contracts and data products, and companies that are seeing success with AI. Right, so it's success being uh, defined right now as deployed 3 or more AI projects into production scaled across the enterprise, or having at least one agent in production. And what we saw is that those companies that are adopting data contracts and products are 3 to 3.5 times more likely to see success with their AI deployments than people that are not using contracts and products, or have a single department use of contracts and products. So it was really fascinating to see that correlation.
It blew a little bit my mind when I read it. To be honest, the thing is,
Right?
we were okay. We were supposing this,
Yeah,
okay, uh, and we were thinking like, okay, maybe uh, maybe 10-20%. In my wildest dreams, I was at maybe double, but it's 3.5 times more
yeah.
successful. So that's incredible. It's fantastic. So
So 85% of companies that have AI projects in production have company-wide data products, 85%, and it's 25% where they don't have that level of maturity. And then for contracts, it was 77% seeing successful deployment of, I'm sorry, yeah, I'm not, products with agentic, right, was 77%. If they were using products, 77% were seeing success with agentic AI, and only 23% if they were only experimenting or using data products in single departments. So it's it's very exciting. That's why I think we'll be, like, pointing a lot of people to the demo that you've built in the booth, and I love that maturity model that you've built into it. So this obviously is just a prototype that was vibe coded for the event because we wanna talk about it, but we will have a productionized version of the data contract builder and data product builder, built into the platform by summer, I believe. But yeah, really interesting. Yeah. So now, Ola, how about you? What have you been up to this week? Like, I don't know.
This week, this week I've been planning. I've been writing, and then I've been planning some teaching material, training material for our academy. So very into the weeds, but very good stuff. If that sounds very self promotional, that wasn't an intention. But may I say, very needed stuff. For the training part. So I am working on a big certification package, and I wanted to do this actually. when I was in Cinea, before Cinea got acquired by Action, but we did not have the time at all, and now we do. And it's a real pleasure. And we didn't have the resources either, right?
Right.
But now we do. So I'm really, really pleased with that. Working a lot on that, and that I'm writing also the second edition of the Enterprise Data Catalog, and yeah, that turns out to be it's an experience. Writing a second edition of a book is something a little different than just writing. Like writing a book obviously can be, you have the blank pages staring at you, right? Writing the second edition is pretty much like telling your old angry uncle that he needs to change. Probably won't like that. And that's pretty much you have this massive amount of text and you just need to rework stuff. And so I find that hard, but I'm getting there. And I'm also playing with the fact that I can take parts of first edition and then say it's not obsolete, but something happened to it. So just showing the evolution I find very interesting. And obviously my topic is about how search has evolved, and then subsequently how data management in companies has evolved since the AI wave took off, the one that we currently find ourselves in, right? So that is actually a lot of fun, and I'm getting on top of it now, and so that is it's taken a couple of weeks. This week I went completely into a rabbit hole, and I found a solution to some of the ways, like the diagrams and the technical explanations. So it's getting better. It's getting better, but it's been hard. I'll be honest about that.
So is the process very different to when you receive feedback on the original work and you've got to rework it, right? So for me, I was told I written my vector book backwards, right? So I had to pretty much start over, right? Because it's not a resequencing. It's right. I was telling a story from the end forward instead of from the end backwards instead of the front forward. Yeah. Is it very different to do a second edition?
Uh, I want to say it's worse in so many more dimensions,
Really? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
but I guess
You've had a
no,
break
no.
from it, right? So you've actually published a work that's been incredibly well received, and now you're like, okay, so it needs to keep at the time. So we need to make some changes here, but the fundamentals haven't changed, right? They're augmented by AI, and there's some new challenges posed when it comes to how we approach search. But okay,
Yeah, so to be specific about it, right? I
yeah,
published the book right when ChatGPT 3.5 was released.
right,
And here I was saying that data catalogs are like search engines only for the data in your company. And
right,
what I mean with this is that the underlying technological architecture and all the principles you put into a data catalog should mirror the technology of search engines on the web. And that includes knowledge graphs. It includes a, a, a razor sharp, laser focus on semantics, like the business glossary, building the correct ontology of your company, understanding search mechanisms, what makes a hit rank up high in the overall number of search results. There's a lot of mathematics to that, right? And so all of that still holds true. And I guess if I am to praise myself, why the book got such a nice reception and many positive reviews was exactly because those things are not going away. So it was useful, but and it was too early to try to adopt any kind of AI angle into it just before publication. Way too early. There were so many things that I could see not gonna work, not gonna work, not gonna work because like these were experiments, but there were also just a lot of AI washing, like a
right.
lot of companies saying, "Oh, we can do this and we can do that," and I
Yep.
just knew that. Well, there are certain mathematical truths that you can never ever redefine when it comes to semantics and relevance and ranking and like just understanding what kind of technology you're in. So to boil it up, or like to try to not to take the last 10 minutes with this, I had to spend some time looking at the evolution and seeing, okay, certain experiments were promising. So it was not all just sales jazz. There were certain elements that were interesting, but it was too early days. Now we have a clear understanding, not of the end state of where we will be in AI in 10 years from now, but I feel that the time is right in terms of saying we can see that the way we organize and search data in companies, just like we do on the web, is maturing in certain ways. We know that we will do conversational search. We know that it won't take part in one particular technology, but many different places, and that is okay. So we need to examine the nature of those conversations, and we need to see how that blends with the way we perform data management altogether. Because the end result, be it dashboards, be it new small data-driven applications, um, or something else. Like all of that just melts into one new thing with agentic architectures going into many of the processes that were hitherto carried out by people. But the one positive message, and then I'll shut up. But the one positive message for this book is that one of the most unsexiest jobs in enterprise reality, which was data governance, is suddenly becoming possible, right? Everything, it was
I think
so
it's
hard. Like,
sexy.
I've worked with this discipline. I've tried to raise awareness of data governance in companies, and it's the hardest job in the world because basically what you're selling is 1,000 manual tasks that will result in no bonus, whatever, whatsoever for the person doing it. That's just a very, very difficult, tough sell.
Like,
It's not impossible, but it's tough. Now with AI, we're seeing that unlike many other disciplines, people that are working in data governance can actually execute on their agenda for the first time. So this is really interesting. It's a very interesting time to be in enterprise data management, and a very positive one. So
And then you can add gamification on top of it if you want. So.
sure, absolutely.
Speaking of books, Emma, so yours is 1 week old, so you may remind the audience about it.
I don't like calling it a book because it's a booklet of 40 pages. Oh my gosh, I should have had it to hand here. I'll have it for our next call. Yeah, I'm getting good feedback, and we will be distributing it next week at Gartner. And I'm doing a book signing in the O'Reilly booth on Monday evening. And because it's St. Patrick's Month, we got some bookmarks printed that have my family recipe for the perfect Irish coffee printed on the bookmarks, because I have no idea what I'm going to write in a book. Like when people ask you to autograph or sign a book for them, what do you write, Ola?
I depends if it's just handing them out at a conference, I just sign with my signature. But if it's at some reunion, a dinner, or reception, I usually base my small greetings on the conversations that I've had with people. But it,
Oh, so you don't sign them in advance. You sign them at the table, at the dinner.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Right.
that tends to work really well late in the evening. It works really well.
You write your opus.
Yeah, yeah. But not too late because then you regret it the day after. Okay. So around 10, 11 o'clock, something like that. And but that's what I typically do. But then there are people that don't like that just want the signature. Like,
Really?
yeah, because yeah, they think of it as like if it's a collection, if they collect, some people collect O'Reilly books, for example,
Yeah.
and they don't want the signature.
Hmm. Okay. How about you, JGP? What do you write?
It's a bit like Ole. It depends. If it's someone, if we just had a conversation, I put a few things about the conversation or something like that. I've never only signed. It's at least enjoy the read or let's keep in touch or something like that. Uh, I you probably know my level of patience, so I can't really do the same thing twice. So I try to be creative between signing. So yeah,
My
it's
handwriting is appalling. So I will look like it's a
I'm not sure they can read me.
serial killer before they get it on. They're like, I think she just threatened my life. I'm not sure what it is.
Let's say it's Irish, okay? I think when it's French, you
I
can.
was thinking of signing it just like sláinte, which is the Gaelic word for it's kind of the equivalent of cheers. It has multiple purposes, but it's to your health, right? So I decided sláinte Emma, but I wasn't sure.
In
All
the
right, we should wrap up because we've got another call this
Oh
rest.
yeah, we need
But,
going to we it's been a long time we didn't go talking about Legos. So I got my new okay, it's a TIE fighter. Everybody's got a TIE fighter, but it has a smart brick in it.
ooh.
So okay, I will reserve. It's kind of fun. I will reserve my opinion for next week. Okay, so next
You'll
week.
leave us in suspense for
Yeah.
7 whole days? All right.
Yes, an entire. I've got to play
Oh,
with it first. Okay, so
talking about next week, right? We're gonna move the Substack an hour earlier because the clocks are changing in the US, but not in Europe.
Yeah.
So are we actually moving it? I'm sorry. I got confused, Ella. What did we decide? Next week we have a conflict with our next call and this call because the clocks have changed. And this was set up by you in a European time zone, and our next call is set up in a US time zone, so there's a conflict next week.
I simply don't know because it's Google Calendar that decides, and I don't know if it's adjusting to me or to you guys. So,
So believe
but
so as is right now, there'll be a conflict, but I think our listeners should be prepared for us showing up an hour earlier next week.
yeah,
yeah,
I don't think it changes in the US. I think it changes in Europe. But
Changes
well,
Sunday.
okay,
Yes.
yeah, we no, I mean, and not yeah, the time changes, but the meeting does not change for us, Emma and I, but for all of. Okay, whatever
Okay, next week there'll be a conflict in your calendar, and you can then tell Ola and I that we were right to raise this issue. But apologies for the confusion around this. We don't know what's going to happen, so stay tuned.
stay
But here
tuned.
in the US, it's
We will see some of you next week.
yeah. Have a great week.
Bye.
Have a good week. Cheers, guys.